Women's football, no longer diverse. It used to be 100% diverse because of the women, but...
What happened? What went wrong?
Turns out white women. I know the source of all evils, at least according to the intersectionals now, which is... well, because white women used to be part of the club, remember? Once upon a time. They were also an oppressed minority, oppressed by the patriarchy, blah, 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 back in 2016. Those ancient years.
All those years ago.
Yeah, now they're oppressors who need to be stamped out of the workplace.
One of us. One of us.
So welcome, white women, to the Oppressor Club. We'll start off just with a plug, just mentioning the Generation X versus Generation Z debate, rant that Carl did yesterday. So do go and check that out on lotus.com. Otherwise, if you wonder what the hell I'm talking about, I do wish to go back in time and remind everyone of a simpler time, a normal time, in which white women used to sit around and gloat about how they're destroying the patriarchy. I will say, of course, only a certain kind of white women. Insufferable kind. A Huffington Post woman, for example, as you see here. Notice anything about this Huffington Post editors meeting? Look at the smug.
If it wasn't for annoying women like this, I wouldn't be here, though. So they've got their uses.
What?
As in, they put me onto all of this sort of politics, and I was just like, oh, right. There's this whole world of annoying feminists. It's basically radicalized by Feminist Destroyed compilations on YouTube.
You just wanted to work in the workplace, and no, you had to go, Josh. That's
the women made me dirt.
Anyway, but if you scroll down, you can see just the date, because 2016 doesn't seem that long ago.
It doesn't. Well, it's not really that long ago, is it? It's 6 years.
Yeah, but this image here just feels like a millennia ago in terms of political narratives. I can't imagine some white women at the Huffington Post trying to pull this today. This idea of, look how diverse we are, we're all white women, because it just wouldn't work. Because, left-wing politics has just advanced beyond white women. White women are no longer anything at all, frankly.
I like to think that they've just got so good at being bigoted that they're now part of the problem rather than the victims themselves.
Well, the left-wing ideology of intersectionalism is entirely bigoted, and decided that white men were Satan and needed to go. And then it was kind of all men, so the white supremacy got a bit broad with every race. And now the patriarchy has got a bit broad because it now includes white women as well. Because if you go to the next one here, you remember that this is how it advanced, which is, even at the time, there were signs that this is where it was going and those women should have known better. This tweet from the Huffington Post editor shows the problem with white feminism. White feminism. White feminism is when white people are not all treated as scum. In case you're wondering, because intersectionality uber alles. Not even joking. Liz Heron tweeted the below photo of an editors' meeting. It was intended as a humble brag, well, maybe not so humble, about gender diversity among the ranks of the editors of the company. Diversity.
Is that why they're hemorrhaging views?
Well, it's more, look at how all women isn't that diverse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, John's meme of 100% diversity is 100% true, which is once upon a time, this was 100% diversity, because women were part of the diversity, and now they're not. I'd love for these people to just decide what diversity is, define it, but...
I like how, even from the very beginning of this sort of thing, everyone was just like, you're going to be right up here with us one day.
Yeah.
And then, mysteriously, a few years later, it happened almost exactly like those people were saying.
Now white women aren't even people, according to the intersectionists. What Twitter users noticed immediately was not how many women appeared in the photo, but how many few people of colour seemed to be included. Yeah, I forgot. The Huffington Post, they actually have a no-N policy. I think that's what they call it. That's why it's like this.
They have one of those sorts of segregation-era signs outside. No dogs, no blacks, no Irish.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's just, yeah, this is the makeup of the people there. It's not... I don't think they just hate black people, but that was the conclusion made at the time from people like this article here, in which they decided that this was white feminism. Because, I don't know, they're all members of the clan, presumably.
I think it's a credit to the diverse sectors of society that they don't want to work at the Huffington Post.
That's true, actually.
I commend them.
Like, you're doing a service to yourselves, if nothing else. And there's also, now it's time for women's football to die, because it's not diverse either. And this is where we get into it, because this is an article, I think it's from Sky Sports or whatever, and I don't give a crap about football, it's not my thing. But I do care about entire institutions being destroyed by intersectionalism, for no good reason. Because there's never a good reason. It's just entirely pointless. Diversity in women's football. Game must show desire for change. I love that. It's like the problem is they don't care about the ideology. That's the complaint.
You don't have a desire to change? Well, we're going to make you change.
Yeah,
this is somehow justice.
We're going to make you into ideologues. It really is like a Maoist complaining. I was like, well, the farmers in the countryside, they're all doing fine. They show no desire to kill everyone in the village.
Mm-hmm.
Weird, isn't it? Anyway.
It's so strange. Just like, you want to kick a ball on a field? Have you thought about race socialism?
Yes. Courtney Sweetman Kirk certainly has thought about race socialism. She says that football must show a genuine desire for change to tackle the lack of diversity in elite girls and women's football. I mean, number one, I don't know how you have... It's just like, this is an elitist operation because it's sport and competition, but diversity matters. Okay, whatever. Let's not even get to that conversation. It's already all women as well, so it's already diverse. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, sorry. White women aren't human. England named 3 mixed black heritage players in the Women's Euro squad this summer, but fielded an all-white 11 in every match of their stunning tournament triumph.
We're not going to mention that the men's team is probably the other way around, in that diversity is overrepresented relative to the population. I mean...
And they lost. But but that's the point. It's not about diversity of the team. It's about the winning or the losing.
Mm-hmm.
For any other human on the planet.
I think that surely the actual players understand that the best players get played because it's more important that you score goals than the amount of melanin in your skin.
Well, it is for every team on Earth that hasn't been infested with race socialism. But of course, the women's team are not quite there yet, but the men's team were. I mean, like Gareth Southgate just said himself, like, I'm doing it for diversity's sake. And it's like, okay.
Not even for England, it's just diversity.
Yeah, now you've lost, so now what? Because, as Carl pointed out, and we'll get to it in a minute, that's the ideology. But the thing is here, they didn't field the black players, and they won. So the problem is not... There is a problem. They won. You would have thought that would be like good news, but no, that's bad news, because it was won by whitey. White women did it, so it's not a real win. God
forbid white women win a trophy for England.
It's not a real trophy, frankly. It's just, yeah. Reigniting the debate over the lack of ethnic diversity in elite girls and women's football. Oh, God. According to PFA, just 9.7% of footballers in elite women's games are from diverse ethnic backgrounds, compared to 43% of male players in the Premier League.
So they openly admit that male players are overrepresented.
Yeah.
And so surely this must... It's not like they're just like, oh, we're going to allow it in men's football, you know, the more popular one that more people watch. But for women's football, our bigotry, it knows no bounds.
But there's also just, what kind of statement is that? Because for people who don't know in the UK, we're not 45% ethnic minorities, as they would put it, or BAMEs, or Yucca whichever term is still in fashion. No, it's something like, what is it, like 17% max?
I think so, yeah. Something around that.
And yet 43% of England Premier League players are from an ethnic diverse background. And that's not a problem. But only 9.7% of female players.
It's also a false equivalence here, because of course the Premier League, it's not national teams, is it? It's just you have the local team who are not restricted to who they can have in their team. So to compare the Premier League to the England team, well, people from England are typically going to be more likely to be English, believe it or not.
Well, they have got a point, actually, as you say, because the Premier League is international. So technically, there's actually still an overrepresentation of the English and whites in general, because whites are like 9% of the population of the globe. So, frankly, I can't believe the England team would do this. Speaking of which, how's the England team doing? The men's team?
Not very well.
No, because as you may remember, Carl did this video in which he just ran the Molus Tolan's logic as it was presented, which is diversity is our strength, so England will win, and then England didn't win. So what's the conclusion? If you run the logic, yeah, okay, this is the point, that diversity ideology is a complete waste of your time. It's not relevant to whether the player is good, if he's black or white. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, I dare say. What matters is if you're good at the game. It's sort of more important. But ignore all of that. We'll go back to the females team, who are not diverse, but yet still winning games. Wiegman added on Friday, we need to do more, and we are doing more. The FA is doing more, weird sentence, to give access to anyone who wants to play football. I don't know what that means. Like, we're doing more to get the black football players on the team. As if, like, a week ago, they were just executing black people who applied for the job. I don't know what they were doing before, but now it's allowed. Now it's permitted. I presumably not the case. Yesterday, she actually says she picks the best players for the game.
No way.
Yeah,
what a novelty.
That's where you fall down, lady. Regardless of race, that's not allowed.
Get with the times.
But we need more access to football for girls. More access, not on the team, because she doesn't. Okay. Sweetman Kirk has called for meaningful dialogue with football stakeholders, as opposed to meaningless, insisting there needs to be much greater enthusiasm and energy to really focus on ethnic diversity in the women's game.
So they basically want to force black women in particular, probably. Yes. I imagine it's probably them.
To do the
to
penalties.
Care about football. That.
Well, we're going to get black women who are not cut out for the game. There are better players, but they are white, so them. We'll have the black female players on, and we'll put them on the penalties, and if they lose, we won't talk about it as well. That's the conclusion there.
The old Southgate strategy.
Yes, because this is the thing. Like, if you care about competence, regardless of race, that's one option. But instead, we care about just race. And Sweetman here is complaining that, well, why are you not focusing on race socialism? I don't know who this Sweetman person is, but I don't follow football. But it's just I can't believe that women's football is going to be a thing that is going to be destroyed by intersectionality. Frankly, I'm all for it in the end. I mean, if we're going to have the end to this debate about is women's football as important as the men's.
Well, just from a pure political strategy point of view, just ruining every aspect of society will make everyone annoyed with them. I mean, if you just want to, play football in your spare time and you're just like, have you spent a minute thinking about all the people you're oppressing by kicking that ball? People are going to be annoyed.
Hopefully. The Sheffield United forward said, I think young girls growing up and looking at that squad, there are a lot of young white girls, which is fine. Not passive-aggressive or anything. But in terms of South Asian, mixed race and black girls looking up and thinking, I want to be like that, they've not got many roles they could look up to. Because indeed, if you cannot see literally yourself doing the thing you want to do, you will never do it. This is literally the logic of if I can't see someone with the same skin tone, gender, presumably haircut, eye colour, I don't know what characteristics or why we should end on insisting they have exactly the same characteristics as yourself. Doing the thing you want to do, you will never do it.
I've never seen a women's footballer wearing a burqa either. I want to see a full team. Head to toe.
I can't believe women's football would oppress women by not wearing burqas.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Afghans
are way underrepresented. I don't think that female pathway in elite game is diverse. Trailblazing football coach Manatosha Taylor, MBE, says it needs to be done. We spoke about the Yanks, Rachel Yankee, Anita Asata, 3 historic England females. She's naming these because they're black women.
I gathered as much, yeah.
Historic England females who have been involved in the game. If I'm the FA, I'm going to get them involved. Historic England, like historic England. Like the place that looks after old manors, etc. The historic England females, they're actually black female players are a museum piece that you must
remember the good old days.
Take care of and nurture and ensure that people pay £7 to look at them per person. I don't know what dehumanizing language. I mean, Yuk Magamur is still worse, but
at least it's fun to say.
Yeah. The Football Association has been approached for comment, but was unable to provide any ethnicity data on representation within girls' and women's elite pathways when recently contacted by Sky Sports News.
You mean they're not gathering data on race of all of the people potentially going into football?
No, they're not race socialists. It's mad. The FA said its key aims are to provide greater access for more players while diversifying the talent pool, pointing to its Discover My Talent initiative and referring Sky Sports News to its Inspiring Positive Change strategy and Update Asian Inclusion strategy. Update. I'm not reading that weird. That's literally how it's written. And Wider Diversity and Inclusion strategy. So we've got all these dumbass programs in which we literally rig the outcome, but it's still not enough. That's what the FA are saying, Sky Sports. Please leave us alone. We've already done the rigging, and it's not worked. It's not good enough. Anyway, the thing is, if we go back to the article, just give us a scroll, John. Just keep scrolling, because this piece of crap just goes on forever, whining and whining that there's no race socialism in women's football like there is in men's.
It's endless, isn't it?
Yeah. None of these words are worth reading, frankly. It's just once you've got the point that this is a complete waste of time, you are correct and worthy of moving on in your life. But the writer didn't. The writer spent God knows how long writing this crap and then thought the public should be forced to read it. Anyway, we'll go to something else which just pissed me off in regards to diversity as our strength, which is that there are now actual quotas in the civil service for the same thing.
Of course.
Because presumably this is where all football's going as well. Which is we will literally just have a quota of black players. Are they any good? That's not on the agenda. What's on the agenda is, are they black? We have this from the civil service. So Treasury aims to have 6% of staff come from black backgrounds in a race target.
So they want them to be overrepresented then?
Yes. The latest census data from 2011 shows 3.3% of people in England and Wales are black, meaning the Treasury's target is actually 2 times the population of black people. Even though, this, as people might wonder, the census is coming out 10 years after, this figure isn't actually expected to change all that much, because we haven't had mass immigration from like the Caribbean or Africa. It's far more from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they are insisting that whitey has to go. Unironically, their position.
Right.
Last week, a memo appeared in the department's intranet service for civil servants. The word intranet is just poison for me. I know it's got a good purpose, but in North Korea, they don't have internet. They just have intranet. Only internal.
It does just sound like you're accidentally getting the word internet wrong, doesn't it?
And it's side point, but anyway. Saying, for the first time in the department's history, as if they were bragging, the Treasury introduced a new black staff representation target of 6% at all grades. So even if there's a grade in which you've only got 2 people, one of them presumably has to be black to reach the target, but then you don't have Asian representation. You get rid of the white, and then you've got no white represent. You see how these targets don't make any sense in reality? It's just complete fantasy, except it's not. It's entirely politically motivated from a political perspective, which the white people are bad, which is why white women are not part of the diversity anymore. A government source said the new target, I think that actually includes Asians and Indians as well these days, they're also part of the white race, so the new target was set during the summer, and that other departments, including the Department of Business, Energy, and Industrial Strategy, have similar initiatives. So the entire government is doing this, not just the Treasury. I messaged a friend in the civil service, how is this not illegal? He says it's not, unfortunately. Should be. But
isn't there such a thing as the Equalities Act?
Yes, but this is on the point of hiring. So you can't hire a person just because they're black. But if you decide to push all your advertising only on black people, etc., and let's say run a summer diversity internship in which white kids need not apply, then that's fine.
Okay, so it's just more or less a loophole, really.
Legalized discrimination is really what's going on in the de facto world here. The note was published on the Treasury's Ethnic Diversity Network, why does that exist, under the title Time for Change, Black History Month 2022, and was written by a member of the Civil Service for the Treasury. Yeah, remember when they say Black History Month is just about celebrating under-focused history? No. It's about discriminating against whitey. As
of course it is, yeah.
Literally this example is. Black History Month, time to get rid of the white civil servants. Okay. The Treasury source says, as someone who comes from a diverse background myself, I am deeply uncomfortable with race targets. Funny that. And implied the applied idea is that you need someone in a senior role to aspire to promotion. So the idea you need to see a black person to think that black people can do more than what you're doing. No, it's not true. Otherwise, presumably black Americans would all still be slaves because or like indentured servants because they'd never seen anyone higher than them and therefore would never achieve anything ever after liberation. I mean, there's just no logic here in this thinking. Anyway, I know white working class people in the Treasury, and this is the point that really annoys me, without university education who are looking to leave because the perception everyone is from top universities, who will help them?
It's almost like certain groups of people are getting left behind, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is the state of the British civil service, which you have the white British population, which survey after survey and government report after government report shows that they're just eating S, frankly, in terms of actually getting into universities, never mind top universities. And the civil service is packed with people from top universities, but they're not white. But we're still being ruled by a white supremacist patriarchy somehow. And those white people who are still in the civil service are not only being forced out by diversity targets, but voluntarily leaving because they know they don't fit in anymore. They're not welcome.
Scary, isn't it, that the people who are going to be executing government policy aren't going to be, representative of the actual population. It's going to be a population that's hostile to the majority population.
We will have race socialism all the way down. Fantastic. I'm glad the Labour Party aren't in charge. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this one on the origin of humanity, part 1. If you'd like to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.